everyone, welcome back to episode 38 of your Talkoffamepod podcast. I'm Kylie. Today I have on the lovely singer-songwriter Ava Liv Mabry. Thanks so much for coming on, Ava. I'm literally so happy to have you on.
I'm so excited to be here. This is so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So over the last 2 years, you've kind of been stuck in isolation, but what is something that you did in the last 2 years that you wouldn't have time to do before?
Actually in the past 2 years, so I moved to Nashville about 2 years ago, this upcoming October. Well, actually 3 years in upcoming October. So I moved like right as the pandemic hit. And I picked up songwriting. It was just something that's like the one thing that I picked up because I moved to Nashville. So that's a really big thing here. And my dad is actually a writer, so we co-write on all of our music, but on all my music. So I picked up writing and I wasn't too great at it at first, but it was something that I got to work on a lot because I had so much time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, did you start doing singing songwriting before the pandemic, or is this like singing songwriting kind of something you wanted to do during the pandemic, or something that you kind of wanted to do?
I don't really think it was completely related to the pandemic at all, just because I moved here before it started. So we moved to Nashville, like my whole family, just because we all wanted something new. We all wanted a little bit of a change. And a big part of that was music. So I knew that once I got here, I would start writing and just start like growing my musicianship. So I don't think it was completely related to like the pandemic, like, oh, COVID, I'm going to start writing because I have no time. But it was definitely something that I got to spend a lot more time on because my dad was home all like to the time and stuff, doing work from home, and I was doing school from home. So it was just, we had so much more time to really grow like what we wanted to start, which was songwriting.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if it wasn't for the pandemic, I wouldn't have been doing this podcast in the first place if it wasn't for this pandemic. Because like I have two journalists on my family, on my father's side, that do journalists from our local news station in Pennsylvania. And so like they inspired me to do it. And at first I was like, how am I supposed to do a podcast? Because I was such a shy, independent girl down. Like, how is a shy girl going to do a podcast? Like, that's not a thing people do. Like, that's not normal. And so I just ended up starting it. But it wasn't for the pandemic that actually made me want to kind of start it. And we're almost at, how long have I been doing this? Almost a year in April I've been doing this. So it's been amazing. Like, I don't know if to be honest with you, like, I probably wouldn't have done this if it wasn't for the pandemic, for sure.
That's so cool though. That's so cool that you started this. That's awesome.
Absolutely. So like, as you kind of mentioned before, your dad is a writer. Like getting to work with him, like what is it like for you to work with him, even though like you're writing, he's a writer and you're a singer-songwriter? What is it kind of like for you to work with him?
So ever since I was like 3, so he plays the guitar and so he would play and I would sing. And so we've always kind of had this duo, and he's just really good at music and stuff. So he's always helped me with everything, but it's actually been super cool to write together. I'm starting to write more solo, like starting to take classes and stuff, but it's just been a super cool thing that we have together. Just something that's special between us. Like we'll write songs together and then we'll release them, and it's just really, really cool. And also like on my Instagram, like all of our songs, like he'll play them and I'll sing them, and it's just a super fun thing that I get to have with my dad. So it's super, super special. But it's been super cool to write with him, and all of our songs are like Christian songs right now, but we actually have a few like country ones coming out, which I'm super excited about. And it's just been so fun. It's been a good experience.
Absolutely. Like did you and your dad always kind of had a passion for kind of music growing up, or is this something that you kind of changed over maybe the last 2 years?
Yeah, you know what's so funny? My dad, when I was little, he wanted me to be a singer. So like my whole like childhood was, I mean, I'm still like a kid, I'm 15, but my whole childhood was really like surrounded by music and him wanting me to be a singer, which was super cool. So he was always showing me like really powerful musicians like Alicia Keys or Aretha Franklin, or Tori Kelly is one of my favorite musicians of all time. I really love her. Or Sam Cooke, just all these super powerful singers. And so ever since I was little, I've just kind of grown up like with music. It's always just been a given, like, oh, I'm gonna be a singer. I want to be a singer. It's just always been something that I've wanted to do. And my mom and dad definitely like played a big role in putting that into my life from like a super early age.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as you mentioned, Tori Kelly, like she's like my favorite singer of all time. Like Tori
I
Kelly,
love.
like I listen to her music every single day. Like there's no one I love more than Tori Kelly. Like she's amazing and one of my get people I want on as a guest on the pod. But I grew up with a sporty household because my family is like a very sporty type of family to do sports, and my father expected me to be like a sports pro or something like good at playing sports. But sports, in terms of playing, was never really my passion. Something I never really wanted to do. Like the industry was always something I was really passionate about, like the entertainment. Like I always wanted to do something in industry, and so like he didn't really know what to do because he always wanted to have me as a sporty kid, even though my brother is very sporty, he's very athletic and he plays sports, baseball, and all those sports. But since we over the last few years with the music changing and stuff, like how do you think the music and the songwriting has changed since the pandemic? Like how do you think it's changed in your opinion?
That's a really good question. I mean, for me personally, I think the hardest part like about moving here was just like not really having like friends and stuff. So for my music, it's always like all my music has been Christian because Heavenly Father, like God was somebody that I always had. And so for me, like my songwriting has very much been directed towards God, which is something super, super cool. I'm a super like religious person. But it's just been super cool. I haven't necessarily noticed how songwriting has changed in the industry, but just personally, my songwriting's become super directed towards my Heavenly Father.
Yeah, absolutely. Me and my whole family are kind of religious. Like we're a very religious family. Growing as like I'm a 15-year-old girl from Pennsylvania, and so my whole family's kind of religious and very connected to God. My family's very connected to God and everything. And so like as a kid, I never grew up going to church because I was always like kind of frightened to go to church, but I always loved God and always like care for God. I always ask God for help. But like how has like God like helped you with connect with your music, and how has God like kind of impacted you?
Oh my gosh, he's done so much for me. My music has like I think done what it's done because of him. Like my account, I do a lot of like Christian songs on my account, and then like 5 out of the 6 songs that I have are all super Christian. And so I just think like him just being there has been like an impact on my music. And Tori Kelly is actually like a super big inspiration for me. I love her gospel album, and I just think it's really cool how he just shines through, and like everything that I do that involves music, even if I'm not singing necessarily about God, he just like fills the song with the spirit and just makes me feel good. And so I think that music wouldn't be music to me without God.
Yeah, absolutely. So you recently came out with a song called Sunday. What kind of inspired you to write that song? Did you write that song with your dad, or just kind of write it?
Yeah, I wrote that song with my dad. What inspired me? It was like just I wanted like a really fun song. We wrote the Samuel prayer, which is it's a very good song. It's like I love it. It's my first one, so it's kind of like my baby, but it's a little bit more on the sad side because I wrote it right as I was moving. So it's just about how I'm praying for something to happen and I just don't know what's going to happen. It's just like a different prayer than what I would usually say. And then we wrote Eaten Alone, which is a pretty sad song. And then I was like, we were writing and I was like, I just want something fun. I just want like an upbeat, uplifting, like just fun song. And so we just wrote Sunday, and it actually sounds so much different on the recording than it does from when we wrote it. It's like more like electric on the recording and just super like vibrant. But we like totally had it like pretty scaled back. And then when we went into the studio to record it with my awesome producer, Ron Rawls, he just made it so fun and like lively. And so what inspired me to write it, it was just, I just wanted a fun song that I could just play and just like feel super good. Just a fun song.
Yeah, for sure. So do you have anyone that you look up to in the industry as a singer-songwriter, or just kind of in general? Do you have anyone that you look up to?
I look up to Lori McKenna a lot. I don't know if you know who she is. She's a really big songwriter. She wrote the whole A Star Is Born soundtrack and a Taylor Swift song that came out like on her All Too Well Taylor's version album. And she just has amazing like personal music. And I really love her. She's an incredible songwriter and I really love her voice too. And it's actually really cool because I've been singing her music, like her personal stuff, not even the stuff that she's written, just her own music since I was really little. And a couple months ago, she followed me on Instagram. It was like one of the coolest like moments of my life because I was like, oh my gosh, like she's just somebody who inspires me a lot. And when she followed me, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh. I ran downstairs and I showed my parents. I was like, Mom, Dad, like you just followed me. But she's just incredible. So she's somebody that I look up to a ton in the music industry and in songwriting and like vocalists. Like she's just really, really great.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as like a journalist having my own podcast, and Gina Davis is a huge point in my life. Like she made me want to do this, inspired me to basically inspire younger generations, young women that they could be anything, they have a lot of opportunities. Since being a young girl and a woman is very hard to be in industry, especially for women and girls. And so like last year, she followed me on Instagram last year. Like I don't remember when. She followed my podcast account and my personal account, and I remember I was sitting in my basement, just on my phone watching TikTok or something. I was on stage for myself, just kind of chilling, watching TV. I remember a notification coming up saying Gina Davis Institute followed you. And I was like, what? And then I saw, and I ran upstairs, and I was like, this is not real. I remember ran upstairs. I was like, Dad, Gina Davis just followed me. Look. Like I was like crying. I was like, this is no way this is possible. And I remember crying. I was like, there's no way that she follow me right now. Like, yeah, I'm seeing her next month. If she's speaking next month at Bend, North Carolina. So I'm seeing her next month. And so which is I'm very excited for and can't wait for. But do you have this as kind of talking about Tori Kelly before? Like how has like kind of Tori Kelly connected with your music? Since like Tori Kelly's kind of similar style as you, kind of similar writing style, singing music as yours. Like how much has she impacted you in your music?
Okay, I have like a cool story. So when I was 6, I was living in Texas. I've lived in a few states, but at this time I was living in Texas. And me and my parents were in the car, and my dad was like, hey, Ave, you should listen to this girl. Her name's Tori Kelly. I think you'd like her music. And this was when she had her album, Homemade Songs by Tori Kelly. So it was like Paper Hearts, Dear No One, Rocket, like her early stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And so he played it and I was like, oh my gosh. And it's so funny because I was like 6. I'd never even like had a boyfriend. Well, I still have it, but like even then. And it was just so funny because these are all like these heartbreak songs, but I just love them so much. And it was actually kind of like right then when I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I want to do. So like she was kind of the person that made me want to be a musician. Like just her, I just love like her modesty. I love the way she presents herself. I love her music. I think it's very like fun, but also she can talk about serious things without just being like inappropriate. Like I think she's just a really good role model for me. Yeah. And like I remember when I was 6, I like had her as my screensaver. I was just like, I loved Tori Kelly. I still do, but so she just impacted me because she was just somebody that I could really look up to, like all growing up trying to be a musician. And still, like I still totally look up to her. I really love her music. So she's just been a big like inspiration in my life.
Yeah, same here. Like she kind of made me love singing. She's one of those, like she's like the main person for me that made me love music the way I do, because I listen to music every single day, never get bored of it. And, like every single, there's not a day that goes by that I don't listen to her music. Like
Yeah.
Masterpiece, like Unbothered, Do You Know One. There's so many songs that are so good, and like
Masterpiece is really good.
yeah, and so like her as a person, like she's so kind, sweet, and she inspires me so much. And one of my biggest role models in my life. And I hope she goes on tour though. I hope sometimes she goes on tour.
I know. I hope she goes on tour. I think she has a song coming out next Saturday.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! Did you see Sing 2 by the way?
I did see Sing 2. That was a really good movie.
Well, I haven't seen it. Do you know if it's still in theaters now?
It's still in theaters, yeah.
Or I have to see it. I'm trying to see it, but I just never had time to go see it. I have to see it. But like when you're writing a song, kind of what is the creative process like for you when you're writing a song?
Okay, so do you know what a hook is in a song?
Yeah.
So like I'll explain it for anyone that like doesn't know. A hook is the part that's like the part that everybody knows in a song. So in Tori Kelly's would be "Dear No One, this is your love song." Like that's her hook.
Yeah.
And so and in my song, the same old prayer. It's like, "This ain't the same old prayer that I usually say." Like that's my hook. So basically the title of your song is your hook.
Mm-hmm.
And so we always start, like me and my dad, or just me, I'll start like hook out. So I'll write a hook. I have a list on my phone of just hooks that I like, just like random little things. And then I'll take that hook and I'll make a song out of it. So you kind of start from like the chorus and then build the verses. So that's kind of what the process is like. Sometimes it takes a few days, sometimes it takes a few hours. Like the same old prayer actually came really, really fast. Something that's cool about that song was we wrote that about 2 weeks before we moved. Or maybe it was like a month. I don't know. I don't really know. It was pretty soon before we moved. And it was actually a journal entry of mine because I am a big journaler. I really like to write. And sometimes I'll write down my prayers just because it's cool to go back and see what I was praying about at that time. So my like journal entry was a prayer to God. I think that's what I called it. And it was just about like, hey, I'm really scared to like leave this place. I'm really scared to leave my friends. I don't know what to do. Like the U-Haul's in my driveway now, and it's just stuff like that. And so it's kind of cool because like the second verse of my song is, I'm scared to leave here. I like my room and I love my friends. The U-Haul's in my driveway now. I'm just scared I'll crash and burn. That was like a song. That's a verse for my song, but it's also a page in my journal. So sometimes it comes from like things that I've already written, or sometimes it just comes from prayers or thoughts that I'm having. So yeah, the process, sorry, I kind of went off a little bit off topic, but the process, we start hook out and then we write the verse, chorus, sometimes a little vamp at the end.
Yeah, awesome. Like as a girl, like I grew up with anxiety and depression my whole life, and recently got diagnosed with anxiety disorder. And I used to get bullied so much, and then growing up, I didn't have a lot of friends because I have a twin brother, and so a lot of people will use me for my brother, be fake, and all those kind of things. And so I didn't have like a lot of friends growing up. I was kind of like a loner, like kind of like sitting there and doing nothing, like kind of being quiet while people live me up. That's kind of how my life was, and still kind of is now. And like, but things have changed as I kind of grew up a little bit and kind of grew out my comfort zone and stuff. But that's kind of how like, I grew up, with living in a small town in Pennsylvania, and the kind of being bullied and being used by my brother, kind of being a quiet person, independent. I was always basically doing everything by myself because like I always like because like what was I supposed to do? Having really no friends, only have like one or two friends that I hang out with a lot. But like I would always have someone that I was like, okay, I'm just might as well do this by myself. If no one is going, if someone's gonna do this to me, then I might as well just do things on my own, basically.
Yeah.
And so
I'm
like,
so sorry. That's so hard.
mm-hmm.
That's hard.
Yeah. So what if you could collaborate with any artist, who would it be?
Okay, I love Chris Stapleton. I really love his music, but also I'm a big fan of Zach Williams. Do you know who Zach Williams is?
Yeah, I know who he is.
He's awesome. So he wrote There Was Jesus and he did it with Dolly Parton. And I just really love his music. So I'd have to say Zach Williams. And I also went to his concert about a month ago and I was like crying. It was so good. I was so excited. I saw him here in Nashville. So that was super cool. But I think that he's just an awesome, awesome singer, but his songwriting is also just insane. It's so, so good. So I would say him.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he's amazing, one of the best to kind of ever do it. I love concerts. I think I'm going to one in March to see Rocker Hayes in March in New York.
I love Walker Hayes. I saw him at a place here in Nashville when I first moved here.
Oh really? Like he's my favorite country singer. Like I'm seeing him in March. Like he's amazing. Can't explain how much he is. He's just amazing. Like I'm seeing him in March. But when I used to be obsessed with concerts. Of course the pandemic kind of stopped a little bit, but I went to see the Jonas Brothers in September, the day before my birthday, because they're my all-time favorite band. And I basically grew up with their music and Jonas music. I used to grow up listening to Jonas like every single day. Like he's like one of my all-time favorite people. He's amazing. Like concerts are such a big kind of toll because I kind of am like basically bring me like happiness. Like there's like happiness where like you just kind of let go of things and you're just happy and focusing on this during the point.
Yeah, totally. I think that we all definitely have those musicians that just make us like happy and just make us feel good. So that's always good.
Yeah. So the final question for the interview is, what is some advice for younger generations that would like to be in the industry one day, or like become a singer-songwriter?
I would say be okay with not like getting it right the first time, because writing is actually something that's super hard for me. Like it's really difficult for me to like finish and write a song. I get super embarrassed to like put things down on paper because I don't want anyone to see it. I'm like, what if it's bad? I don't want to be like embarrassed. And that's a lot of the reason why I do it with my dad. He really helps me. But I would just say like be okay with just having your first 100 songs kind of suck, like having them just not be that good.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm working on. And just being okay with like just falling on your face every once in a while or every day, like whatever, just as long as you're like trying. And I street sing all the time, and there's sometimes when I like will go out and my voice just sounds so bad and I'll have to leave early, and sometimes I can beat myself up for that. But I would just say like don't live with a bunch of regrets, just kind of like learn from past mistakes with like trying to grow your social media or writing a song or performing. Just like don't like get too caught up on the things that you're doing wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Like sometimes like when I'm like writing something to write down, to trying to like maybe like journaling or like for the podcast, or when I'm trying to like come up with good ideas to do to do more things in the industry. And sometimes I get like embarrassed. I'm like, okay, I don't want to write this down. Like I don't want anyone to see it. This is probably horrible. Like I don't want to show anyone. Because I'm very kind of self-conscious about my work. Like I love my work entirely, but sometimes like when I work on something that I don't like, I'm like, okay, I don't like this at all. This is something I don't want anyone to see unless like I feel comfortable. But what is kind of like your biggest kind of part, like hardest part about being a singer-songwriter in your opinion? Like what's kind of like the biggest part?
For me, it's probably songwriting, actually. That's probably the hardest part for me. I think it's different for everyone. I love performing. I love being on stage. Talking on stage was something that I struggled with for a while, but I worked really hard and like just I still have to work hard at it. I'm not like great at talking in front of people, but I mean, we all have our things that we have to work on. So I think that the hardest part for me is probably songwriting and talking on stage, but that's okay because I'm working at it and I'm getting better. But like I'll just share like one little quick thing before we end. But when I was first like performing here in Nashville, I would have to write out on note cards, like what I was going to say before each song, or like little jokes I was going to tell, because when I get on stage, like I can sing all I want, but it's really hard for me to like feel free enough to talk because I just don't want to get judged. So I would memorize my note cards and memorize like exactly what I was going to say. And I think sometimes like that could probably be a bad thing, but also it just like worked for me. So yeah, that was probably the hardest part, talking on stage, but it's getting a lot better for me. I'm getting better at it the more that I practice. I definitely have to practice to no one. Like that's, sometimes people can just go up, and it's a true gift from God to like be able to go up and just talk on stage. For me, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so probably talking on stage and songwriting, but both of them are getting easier. You just have to practice.
Yeah, like I'm the person that doesn't like public speaking. Like I'll be fine going up on stage, like
Like you have a podcast. It's so cool.
Yeah, like and then like when I'm actually on stage, I'm like, okay, like this, I hate this. I want to get off. This is something I hate doing. And so like once I'm doing something that will catch up my mind while I'm doing something, then I'm like, okay, I'm fine. But as long as I can focus.
I never like, even when I'm on stage, I'm never like, oh, I hate being up here. Like I really love being on stage. It's something that's super fun to me. I think the only part that I'm like, get me down, is when somebody's like, would you like to say a few words for your song? And I'm like, no, I don't want to say a few words.
Yeah, that's how I am for sure. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It means so much. It's so fun to talk to you. You're amazing. And let's speak soon for sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Again.
Of course.
Thank you so much. Have the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you, Kylie.
Of course.